Welcome to the fifth video in the introduction in R. Today we talk about the apply function and similar functions. Have fun, like and subscribe. And I hope you learn something. Okay, let's get started. So first, as always, we use the remove function, clean our environment, and then we start with the library datasets. This time we get the dataset iris, and we make it as a data frame. Then we use the first apply function. So this is the normal apply function. And you can always use different kind of margins. So the margin 2 is always for columns, and the margin 1 is always for rows. So this time we use the margin 2, and the margin 2 is for columns. Then we use it, and we see it's not working. So why isn't it working? So it's because of the structure of D1. So the fifth variable is factor. And because the apply function cannot figure out which is like numeric and then say, okay, for this I will compute it, and for this I won't compute it. So we can go on and indicate D1 from 1 to 4. So it will only use those columns which are numeric coded. So, and now it's working. So we can see the means of every column or for every variable. We can also indicate like with D1, square brackets, and then -5. And it will work out too. Then we can also do it for the rows, and for the rows we use the margin 1. And you see it works out. So, but this time it's not very useful to do that. Perhaps there are some data types for which it will be useful. So for example, the time series. And we go on with sapply. Sapply does the same thing, but it only will use the columns. So here we can see it works out even if we don't indicate with the following which we did in apply. So here it figures out, okay, species is not numeric, so it cannot calculate the mean of species. So if we do the same thing for the variance and for the particular function var, then it will not work. So for this special function, we have to use the sapply function and indicate D1 properly. So, and then it will work out again. So then we have the lapply function. The lapply function is kind of similar, but this time the output will be a list. So we see it works out, and species has an A. And this time every value of the output is a several list element. So then we do it also for variance, and it will also not work out. But we can indicate D1 again, as we did it beforehand with sapply, and we see it works out. So then we come to the next function, which is tapply. Tapply is kind of different because tapply only calculates the values based on a condition. So in this case, it will compute the mean based on all species, and for every species we get a sapply width. So that will look like that. So here we have the mean of Setosa, the mean of versicolor, and the mean of Virginica in sapply width. Most of the time I will use aggregate, because aggregate is a little bit more handy, because you can put more stuff inside of it. So you can put more conditions inside of it, which you cannot do with tapply. And aggregate will do the same thing, But you have to be sure that it is like a list, so it can recognize this object inside this function. So, and then it will look like that. So, in this case, you can see it does the same thing as before, but this time it will do it for every variable we have. So for sepal length, for sepal width, for petal length, for petal width. But for species, it will not work because species is coded vector. So we can also say just do it for some certain columns, and then it will look like that. We can use also other functions like class, and we get the class of a particular variable or a particular column. So, and then it will look like that. Okay. In this case, it makes no sense because every column will have the same class. Either way, it's setosa or versicolor or virginica. Okay, then let's have a recap what we have done today. So the apply function is the easier function. There you can adjust like the margin to have like the rows if you adjust the margin equal to 1. And if the margin is equal to 2, you can calculate the columns. sapply and lapply are similar, but in sapply the output will be a vector, and in lapply the output will be a list. They are used for columns. tapply is for if you want to put in a condition, and based on this condition you want the means of some particular variable. The same yields also for aggregate, but with aggregate you can use it for all the variables inside an object. So that's for today. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you soon.